watching the replay, welcome, good morning and good afternoon, or good evening to you as well. We're going to go ahead and ask you to skip to the 3-minute mark. We're here with life and business coach AJ Amyx. Woohoo! HubPost top business coaches of 2018. Is that right?
Yeah, and last year. We're doing 2 years
and
consecutively.
2019.
Holy
yes.
smokes.
And he's going to give us a free training that's going to definitely help you cultivate peace and productivity and patience during this time. So I'm going to check on my phone to make sure that we are in fact live in the group.
Perfect. I know how that goes. Every Tuesday we do a lunch and learn. And every day, yes. I never know, every week, are we live or not live? Because tech gremlins, they're real. You know, they say like the devil roams around like a roaring lion. I'm pretty sure they were talking about technology. Like little tech gremlins roaming around, devouring us little online entrepreneurs.
Oh my God. It's so true. Welcome, viewer. Introduce yourself. We're glad you're here. AJ plays guitar. He likes rock music. So, viewer, who is your favorite band? Put that in the comments.
Oh, my favorite band right now is a lady named Aurora from Norway.
Oh,
awesome. Her album from 2017. It's called All My Demons Are My Friends, which is very fitting for today's conversation.
Yes.
Great album. Lyrically, musically, everything about it. Amazing album.
I know she would be offended by me asking this, but I'm going to ask it. Who does she sound like? Like, who is she comparable to?
Enya.
Okay.
Who else? Almost like Florence. Like if Florence and the Machines and Enya had a baby, maybe that would describe Aurora, potentially.
Wow. That is a really exciting sound.
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
And Tim is sharing that his favorite band is U2.
Nice. The good old Irish.
U2.
They're Irish, right? They're Irish, I'm pretty sure.
Yes, and Tim is in Belfast. So,
nice.
Yeah. Tim, have you ever seen them in concert? I just have a feeling you have. He just seemed like the guy, Tim, that would invest in that experience.
And I wanted to get to Belfast when we were there a year ago. We were in Ireland. We drove around the entire country. I loved Ireland. I'm so ready to go back. I loved the people. I loved the countryside. I loved everything about it. Like Ireland was amazing. And we were going to go to Belfast to go see the Game of Thrones touring or the film sites and stuff. And the bus did not run on a Monday. It only ran Tuesday through Saturday. And I only had that one day in Dublin for that specific thing. So we didn't make it. So I shall get back. I shall get back to explore Belfast.
Oh, yes. Tim, as you can see in Tim's comments, he has seen them live 4 times.
Awesome. Good man.
Very cool. I haven't got on the Game of Thrones train yet, or bandwagon yet. And so I need to. Are you and Sarah on that train?
We've already completed the train. Ended, it crashed, it burned. Yeah.
That's what I heard. That's what I heard. Yes. Yeah. Okay, Tim, first time you saw them was in Belfast was the War Tour in a gymnasium. Oh man, I bet that was awesome. Lots more to see here. Yeah, totally. Well, we're gonna go ahead and get started. Again, we are here tonight to explore shadow work. This idea that what if the thing that you're most afraid to explore about your past, the thing you're most afraid to admit to yourself or for others to know about you, what if there is a gift in that thing? And we're here with life and business coach AJ Amyx, and I'll reintroduce him again. Check him out at ajamyx.com. For 2 years in a row, HubPost voted him one of the best business coaches. Ooh, and he's here tonight. So please put questions and quandaries, anecdotal goodnesses in the comments as we go. And we're so excited that you're here with us. So again, welcome, AJ.
Thank you.
And my experience with shadow work came up when we started working on my marketing plan. And I'll keep this brief because I know folks are here to learn from you. So we started talking about this type of organic social media marketing, this style of social media post that's called Prison to Paradise. And that's actually just, if I'm right, that's a style of copywriting that you can do on different mediums, not just social media.
Totally. Yeah, yes. It's a marketing principle.
Yes, marketing principle. That's what I meant. And so in this, you I was being encouraged through my last book to speak to the pain, the real pain that I felt when I was making every choice in my life based off my church members. And I was really going to be getting vulnerable, because that's what well-written Pain to Paradise copy does, is it gets vulnerable and it meets people where they are, right in their feelings. And I said to you that I didn't want to write that type of post because I was afraid people would think that I want attention. And then you pushed back and you suggested that I do want attention. And I want attention because that's what good marketing is. And I have a product that's going to serve people. So I need to own it and not be afraid of the fact that, gosh darn it, I want attention. So this was my first run-in with this term shadow work. And if you've heard of shadow work before, to our viewers, give us a yes or a thumbs up in the comments. And then I'm going to let the professional here tell us exactly what is shadow work.
So essentially, shadow work is just learning to love and accept those unloved pieces about us. Like so many of us, due to our culture, due to the environment we're raised in, due to the families that we're raised in, due to certain events in our lives, things happened, not good or bad, just things happen to all of us. And we then created meaning to these events, where maybe if we grew up in a household where the mother or father was angry, and we experienced anger and we saw that anger hurt people potentially, we created a story and a meaning that said, I will never be angry because I'm a good person and angry people hurt people. So therefore, I will never be angry. I don't know how many people listening to this can identify with this. You don't have to raise your hand, but you can just be like, yeah, probably. This was one of mine for sure. Yeah, me too.
Totally.
And as a result, most of those people, I'm totally going to broad stroke anger right now, because I think it's a big thing. Most people, when they make that decision, they then become the nice person. The nice person, where they use are pleasing people because they don't want to be angry. And what happens is this anger is since they have said anger is bad, their shadow, they're being like, I want to live in the light. I want to be a good person. I want to be a good Christian. I want to be a good business owner. I want to be a good mom, dad, whatever. This part is bad. No. And we block that off and we're repressing it. And lots of people sedate it, whether it's through prayer. It could be through church. It could be through alcohol. It could be through, meditation. It could be through drugs. It could be through sex. You could sedate with however you want to sedate. It doesn't matter to me. Different things. But the truth is, it's until we align with, no, that's bad, then we're essentially cutting off the flow of allowing God to flow through us. See, I believe God is everything, right? Alpha, Omega. It's been my experience. The beginning and the end. So I'd have you consider potentially, you may say God is anger, God is sadness, God is fear, God is sex, God is money, God is peace, God is joy, God is love, right? And to the degree that if we're ever being like, no, this part, anger is bad, then we limit the flow of God moving through us, therefore negating our power as a human being, our capacity to experience anger. Most people, when they're saying anger is bad, they're totally resisting it. And there's this thought in spirituality, which we talk about, what you resist persists, which never really made a lot of sense to me until I go deeper. And so if this is representing anger, and I'm like, anger, oh, it's over here. Let's see. It's reversed. It's reversed. Okay, anger is gonna be really close to me. If we're like, no, anger's bad, and I'm like, no, get away from me, anger, get away. I'm still anger is still in my life. Is this making sense, Meg?
Yeah.
And
100%.
most of us are pushing it down, pushing it down, pushing it down, and then tell the nice person, and I was one of these people, it would just be and I would snap. It'd be like, oh, it's your ginger rage. No, it's actually just because I wasn't friends with anger. I was terrified of it because I had a story. Angry people are bad. Angry people hurt people. So what I've learned is it's not the anger in and of itself that hurts people. It's actually just our reaction to the anger because we've resisted it for so long, and it builds and builds and builds. And you could do this again with fear. You could do this with sex. You could do this with sadness. You could do this with anger. You can do this with any emotion. Some people on the other side of the spectrum, they've been unhappy so long, they like have lived in the dark so long that they resist happiness.
Wow.
And so this is what I'm talking about, like shadow work. So it's like, okay, so if this is what shadow work is learning to love the part of me who's angry, love the part of me who's an asshole, learning to love the part of me who's stubborn, learning to love the part of me who wants to hide, learning to love the part of me who's not good enough, learning to love the part of me that doesn't want to have one of those big East Texan bellies. Like learning to love all of these things about me. When I can accept it and I'm not indulging that shadow piece of me, and I'm also not avoiding that shadow part of me, I then can become the observer chooser and allow it to move through me in a healthy way, which we will talk about. And now I can be like, I'm all of it. And from this place, I can use my power as a human being to tap into what God gave us, which is agency, which is our free will, to then go forth and create the results that we feel called to create. But until I can harness and step into the shadow, then essentially the thing about me or the thing about you that you're rejecting is doing you. So for instance, I go back to my story about anger. For many years, anger did me, meaning I was living in reaction. What I resist, persist. I was constantly living in reaction to anger. So therefore, anger was doing me. I wasn't doing anger. Let me give you a practical example. Since I was terrified of my anger, in college, I wouldn't go out to the bars with friends because there was a thought in my mind that was like, well, if I go there and somebody wants to pick a fight, because sometimes drunk people do that, like I would be the guy that would break a beer bottle and just gouge your eye out because I don't want to fight. It's the last thing I want. I didn't have the skill sets of warfare, hand-to-hand combat. So I was just do the first thing I know, infight. Pfft. Fastest path to infight is, no, we're good. Pfft. All of this repressed just releases. Or go the other way. This may look like in clients. They're like, hey, could you do this? Hey, could you do this? Hey, could you do this? Or maybe it's within your family. Hey, can you do this? And hey, can you do this? Hey, can you do this? And they're like, oh God, why are people always taking from me? Because we haven't befriended our anger to use our voice to say, no, not now. And this is where a lot of people are stuck in life. It's because they haven't learned how to unlove or to love this unloved part of them. Is this making sense? I want to like turn this back over to you for a second and see if you have any questions or anything coming up in the chat.
Yeah. The first thing that's coming up, and I think others will definitely relate to this, is in Christian circles I think we sometimes mislabel shadow work as sin and to repress it, not to look into it and to ignore it. But what are some other reasons you think that Christian recovering holy rollers of the Christian faith, why are they afraid of shadow work? Why won't they become interested in it, do you think, other than that reason?
Well, it comes back into some very core fundamentals of being a human being. If we grew up in a culture where we said sex is bad, or we said anger is bad, or we say in East Texan culture and in the South in general America and also throughout Europe, if we have showing our emotions is bad, then we're like, well, they won't accept me. Like my tribe, my culture, my family, my friends, they won't accept me. If I'm sexual, those that I love will not accept me. And then if they don't accept me, can I even like love myself? Can I accept myself? And it's ultimately the fear of being cast out of the tribe. It's the fear of we've resisted this thing so long. If I am that, then like our identity's caught up. And it's like, if that's true about me, then who am I? Rather than understanding like the totality of you is not the shadow. A part of you is the shadow. The totality of you is a beautiful human being. The totality of you wants nothing but love and goodness. Only always. It's the forgetting of that and the lack of integrating the broken parts of ourselves that then create our beingness of being human, where we've forgotten who we are. And as a result, we are then living in constant reaction, trying not to do those things. And the cost of that is, number one, struggle. Number two, stress. Number three, burnout. And number four, a lack of freedom, because we're living every moment by moment by moment by moment from a place of constriction, rather than learning how to be like, yeah, I'm that. So if that's true, it's like, well, then how can we step into the shadow and know that we're not going to become our deepest fear, meaning being angry like our mother or our father, or being abusive like this person or that person, or being an alcoholic like this person or that person, or whatever it is? Pretty simple. Get clear on your values that you stand for, and choose to walk in integrity with those values. Like, it's kind of like a river and a canyon. Like, one wall of the canyon are your values. The values, the core values that you stand for. And on the other side of the river, on this other canyon wall, this is your integrity. Integrity meaning your choice moment by moment to walk in alignment, in integrity with these values. And if God is peace and love and sadness and fear and anger and sexuality, and that's what's coming through us, these canyon walls are guiding the flow of that river. It's like the Grand Canyon. It's a beautiful thing. This is carving out this beautiful path, this beautiful expression that people have looked on for thousands and thousands of years. I don't know, Meg, if you've ever been to the Grand Canyon, or those listening, if you've ever been to the Grand Canyon. I have. It's amazing. Like, I've seen a lot of stuff over the world. And the Grand Canyon is one of those places that's just like, wow, it's amazing. And our lives are like this if we allow the totality, the entire flow, to flow through us and carve out our path. The only time that this emotion, this totality of God flowing through us is going to hurt another human being is when we forget to walk in integrity with our values. And it's like one of the walls of the canyons like break off, and then those emotions are going to spill over, right? Causing a swamp.
That's quite a visual. Yeah.
But the swamp doesn't happen if we walk in alignment with our values. Now the expression, the flow of life, the flow of God is contained in a very healthy container, creating a very unique expression, known as me, known as you, known as every single person listening today. Is this making sense?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Tim shared in the comments, as you can see, is it possible that the stigma among many Christians about discussing sexuality and desire among teenagers leads to later problems for us due to that? I mean, those who refuse to look into premarital sex and desires can end up with porn addiction or even adulterous behavior. Sorry, intonation changed its question. Or even adulterous behavior?
Yeah, I think so. It's been my experience. Like, the people that I know that grew up in the most conservative homes are usually the ones that have the most problems. I'm not saying it's good or bad. I'm just saying they have like the most disempowering experience as a human, because again, it's a human thing to experience sex, anger, fear, sadness, happiness, peace, joy. Like, that's part of the beingness of being human. So to say that part of me, no, sir, no, ma'am, nope, can't even look at it, yeah, it's going to anchor a fuck ton of guilt and shame into somebody.
Mm-hmm.
A massive amount. And that pressure is going to build and build and build and build until it's just, it's going to go somewhere, guaranteed.
Mm-hmm.
I think this also plays into the game of marriages. Like, we're looking at practical implications. If a man or wife cannot talk about sex, or a man or wife can't say, this is what I like, this is what I don't like, or this is what I'd like to experience with you, at some point in time, the pressure is going to build, and a partner is going to look somewhere to go find an outlet for that thing that they want to experience, that pressure that's building up inside of them. And again, there is a paradox in this. I'm not saying go indulge. Do not hear me saying that, because that is not what I'm saying. And I'm also not saying avoid. I'm saying honor the paradox that both opportunities are a potential. And if you will choose to walk in alignment with your values, no human's hurt. Because what may be a win for you, because we're talking about sex here, I'll stay with it. What may be a win for you in sex may not be a win for me in sex. Now, it may be a win for another person, and the two of you could go create that experience, and it would be in very much in integrity for you. So let me anchor this. We're gonna go deep. I don't know where we're going down this path, but here we go. Into the rabbit hole.
Thanks, Tim. Thought-provoking question.
One person may say, nobody should have sex except with one partner, whoever they're married to. And for those who believe in a monogamous relationship, that would be true. That would be an integrity. But who's to say for those whose values are having a polyamorous relationship or having multiple wives? And again, if that's a win for their partner, and we've communicated it, and that their value, and they're all walking in integrity with their values, who's to say that's wrong? It's not right for me because I like having a monogamous relationship with my wife. Mm-hmm. But I met other people who have two wives, and they love it, and it works for them. So who am I to tell them they shouldn't do it? This is what I mean. It's very important. And most people never take time to get clear on their values, because they assume the values of their mother, their father, their grandparents, their culture, because it's just what you do, right? Rather than taking the time to become the observer chooser of your life and start asking questions. And I learned this from Tony Robbins, which like the quality of our questions determine the quality of our lives. Like, if we're asking empowering questions, we receive empowering answers. We ask disempowering questions, we receive disempowering answers. Jesus talked about this concept, like, knock and the door shall be opened, ask and it shall be given. So we have to be very consciously aware of what doors are we knocking on, because we may open some of those up and not like the answer. So if we can start looking at, like, well, what are the values my mother and father has instilled upon me? Like, there's values that I carry that I'm going to instill upon my daughter, guaranteed. It's my job as a parent. And also, if she doesn't choose to abide by those values and consciously chooses different values, and that's a win for her, who am I to say that's wrong? Now, does this mean that she can? I'm totally taking this to the other extreme, just to paint an illustration. So,
oh gosh,
I could say, well, I'm going to let my daughter choose her values, so therefore I am not going to tell her she is a male or a female. She shall choose her gender. To me, that's a little too far. Like, a child needs boundaries. It's my job to give her boundaries, and yet the paradox, give her room to explore in a safe manner. So I will instill values, and when her brain fully develops and she's around the age of 24 and she wants to choose different values, by all means, choose different values, babe. This is the paradox.
So am I hearing you right, that what some holy rollers might be mislabeling as, oh no, how do I want to ask this? Because I want to ask a good question and get a good answer. Am I hearing you right, that because some holy rollers are afraid to do the shadow work, they are missing out on the opportunity to really align with their values?
They're missing out on the opportunity to experience the totality of the gift of human life. So
Yes.
let's anchor this. So here's how this is beneficial. So it's kind of like, pretend like you're sitting on the back porch of this house, and in this backyard, it's fenced. Like there's a fence, but there's still fence on the side of the house as well. So it's almost like an L-shaped backyard, but there's more depth on that L, right? And then it's like a skinny piece. And so let's imagine that's the backyard, and right behind the house, not on the L-shaped on the side of the house, but behind the house, there's a swing set, and there's night lights that are pointing at the swing set. You guys could probably see this in some of your homes. Maybe you've been to homes that are like this. And let's say there's a child, or there's a person who's swinging on the swing set. We'll call this person a child. And so as a result, this child's swinging at nighttime, and they can see because the light is on them, and to them, when they look out, they can just kind of see this portion of the backyard is lit up from the lights, but there's this side of this house that's still in the backyard that's dark. And the child's like, man, it's so scary over there. I'm just going to stay here on the swing set. And this is what most people do. Mm-hmm. Now, some children are brave enough to get off the swing set, walk over to the side of the house in the dark. And as a result, their eyes adjust and they realize, man, it's really not that scary over here. Like, my mind was saying there was monsters and all these craziness, but now that I'm here, it's just like a couple of AC units and some gravel, and that's about it. And as they also look out, they can see the light. And as a result, their space to play has just increased. Their capacity to explore the backyard has just increased. So where they used to only play tag in the light or hide and seek in the light, now they can go also play over here. And this is how it is for like doing shadow work. Our capacity to experience life is expanded. My capacity to experience connection with another human being has exponentially increased when I've learned how to be okay and comfortable in my sadness. I can be with somebody in their grief. I can hold them. I can have more empathy, more compassion. If I'm comfortable with my sexuality, I have more intimacy and connection with my wife. Same thing with her. If I'm comfortable with my anger, I can have more patience and presence in my daughter's anger or my wife's anger, or my ability not to make it about me. I can just sit in the pocket and be with her and seek to understand rather than judge and label and project. This is the benefit of doing shadow work. Is this making sense?
Yeah, definitely.
Awesome.
Definitely. So one practical step for, let's say, Christians out there, or those that would consider themselves like me, recovering holy rollers, what is one practical step that, oh wait, I'm so sorry. Let's hold my question. I totally didn't scroll down to see the next one. Apologies. Okay, next question. Do you think that this live and let live attitude is actually more in line with being Christian? I am totally committed to fidelity for my wife, but I know that others have different values. Accepting that is only facing a truth. Yes?
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, look at some of the stories of Jesus. Jesus, he had the woman at the well. He told her, hey, sin no more. He talked to her. He wasn't like, you fucking bitch, don't you know what you're fucking doing? I'm using strong language to make a point.
Right. Yeah, totally. Yeah.
He was just like, hey, I know you have one husband and you're being, but hey, go back to your husband if you so choose. That was it. Like, there was intimacy. There was, and I'm not talking about sex. I'm talking about intimacy, connection. There was empathy. There was compassion. There was humanness. There was relationship. So yes, I do believe, from my experience, the more that I experience more spirituality and other world religions, the more and more I actually become understanding of what it is to be Christ-like. Yes, to live as Jesus lived and love as Jesus loved. Absolutely. But that was a journey in of itself for me, because even to explore and talk about some of the concepts I'm talking about today, 2011, I've been like, you're full of, no way, like, you're crazy. You're crazy, because I thought there was a right way, one way. When there's multiple paths up the mountain. Another way to think about this concept was like, if I only knew Meg from the front. Like that's it. It's all I've known the entire time. And let's say, and is this Tim that's asking this question?
I am pretty sure. It sounds like a Tim question. Let me look it up. Yes, it's a Tim question.
Okay. And let's say, Tim, you've only known Meg from behind her entire life. Let's pretend like I'm standing in front of her, you're standing behind her. And you ask me, hey, AJ, what does she look like? I'm like, well, she has, some red lips. She has hair. It's like parted this way. She has eyes, eyebrows. You'd be like, no,
she has teeth.
Yeah, she has teeth. And you'd be like, no, she doesn't. She doesn't have it. She just has like hair. It's like, I'm like, no, dude, she has like this nose. Like I'm seeing it. This, you're like, no, I'm looking at her too. And we could argue back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
And the question is like, well, then who's right? We both are. We're both right from our perspectives. And if there was a person on her left and her right, then the four of us could even argue. And it's like, well, who's right? We all are right. We're experiencing her from a different perspective. And so I'm at this place in life, understanding God, being like Jesus, living as like Jesus lived, loving as like Jesus loved. There's multiple paths up the mountain. And they're all right, as long as they're rooted in unconditional love.
I think that's really important for us to remember, giving ourselves that unconditional love as we start to do shadow work.
Totally. Because
it is scary and uncomfortable. And yeah, and I know on your podcast, the Anthony John Amyx podcast, early on in the season, there was an episode about shadow work.
Yeah, there was.
I cannot remember.
That was episode 22. Episode number 22. And also, was there one before that? I'm just kind of going through
I feel like there was one earlier on.
Episode 15. How shadow work impacts your business. Episode 15.
Yes. So we will put that episode in the comments below this video. And there will be tons of good, helpful, practical next steps in that episode for you. And if you have any other questions or comments for AJ, tag him below and he will get back to you. I'm sure you're okay with that.
Sure.
Okay, perfection. Awesome. How else can people stay connected with you and keep learning from you? AJAmyx.com, Anthony John Amyx podcast. What other ways can they stay connected with you? And what's an upcoming project if you have one that they could join in on?
Yeah, so my latest book, Mindset is Not Enough, it dives into a lot about what we're talking about here at a very deep level, helping people understand why they do what they do and why they're not doing, or why they're doing the things that they don't want to do. And it's really helping them unlock a new level of freedom, purpose, and success in life. So people can go get that book for free, the whole book, at ajamyx.com/book. It's not like a free plus shipping or anything. You just go download the whole book and it's yours. So that would be one way to plug in, connect. The other way is my podcast, the Anthony John Amyx podcast. I do 2 episodes a week. I do a Sunday sermon, which is a solo show on Sundays. And then I do on Wednesday, I have an interview show where I bring in guests, amazing human beings from all around the world to help people really unlock that next level of freedom, money, purpose, success in their lives. So you can find that at ajamyx.com/iTunes. That takes you right over to iTunes to listen to the show. So that would be the two probably easiest ways to stay connected with me.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And thank you everyone for joining us on this video with AJ, and tune in Sunday morning, 10 Central Standard Time. I'm going to put a poll out in the group. I'm either going to be talking about the 6 ways to serve others better with your website design, or the number one religious belief that's holding you back from your goals. So I'm going to throw that out there to see which one you want to talk about on Sunday morning. And so 10 o'clock Central Standard Time, and we go live every Tuesday night at 7 and Sunday at 10 to help you keep cultivating peace, patience, and productivity as a spiritually attuned go-getter during these uncertain times. So again, thank you, AJ, for your time tonight.
Thanks for having me.